with us for the whole night, because we got great stuff. And after the event, we'll do a sing-along and we'll all get together afterwards and have a party. So we want you to have a great time. Thank you so much for coming. We really wanted to do something special for Peter, and it would have been remiss to not have an event in memory of him and think about his music and his life. And he was a good friend of mine, and I'm so glad that you came to celebrate with us. I'd like to invite up Ann from the IMA first, who will tell us a little bit about the charity that Peter designated. Holding form over here.
Hi, I'm Ann Hackler. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute for Musical Arts, and we're the organization that Peter's family had people give donations to in honor of his memory. And Peter was a friend of ours, and he did whatever he could to support our institute. And I think because he understood that part of the success of the Monkees depended on those little girls in the audience who actually really wanted to be on stage. And he did whatever he could to support young women to pursue music themselves. And that's why he supported IMA. He came to shows, he did benefits, he sent his stepdaughter, he at one of our music festivals, a fan spotted him in the audience and said, "Is that Peter Tork over there?" And we were like, "Yeah, it is." She goes, "Can I get a picture of myself with him?" And I said, "Well, let me ask." So I asked Peter, and he said, "Yeah, if she gets a donation to IMA." So we made an announcement, and a long line of people lined up, and Peter took pictures with every one of them, and they all made donations to IMA, and it was just sort of an amazing event. So, and when Peter did die, the money that came in, we raised about $8,000 from fans. A lot of it was in $10, $25 donations. There was a group of women, the Davy Jones Memorial Bench women in Japan who donated. It was really amazing, and I had some great exchanges. I don't know if any of you were donors, but I had some great email exchanges with people who had really personal connections with Peter, because that's the kind of guy he was. So I just wanted to give you, if you want to know more about our programs, we do rock and roll camps for girls in the summer. We start with 9-year-olds, we go all the way up into 24-year-olds, so we take them into the recording studio, teach them to be engineers, producers, we teach them how to run sound equipment. We have spawned a lot of all-girl bands, and we plan to spawn a lot more. They're out in the registration area is a video of our programs. There's also some pictures of Peter, some of the shots that were taken with him at the festival. Our recording studio is also probably the last studio that Peter recorded in. He recorded I believe his last album in there, but he came in a couple of months before he died to put down some vocals on a track that he had done with James Lee Stanley. And that was Angels We Have Heard on High. It's one of the backgrounds of the video that's out there. But if you're interested in our programs, please talk to me. I'm going to be here all day. And please take some of the information. If you've got a young girl rocker in your life, please send them our way. So thank you so much for the support for the Institute. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And Peter's family is actually selling Peter's upright piano. So check your program magazine if that's something you're interested in. It's one of 2 of the higher ticket items, that and the Monkees jukebox. If you're interested in that, check your program magazine. Next, we'd like to invite up the first selectman of North Haven, who is comparable to the mayor. A nice round of applause for Mr. Michael Frieda, along with our very special guest of honor, Mr. James Lee Stanley. Ladies and gentlemen, nice round of applause.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Before I offer this proclamation on behalf of the town of North Haven, I have to share with you a story. In September of 1966, there was a little boy in West Haven, Connecticut, that that was mesmerized by this new show called The Monkees, which debuted in the fall season of 1966. As that little boy watched that show every Monday night and listened to the songs, it was around Christmas time, 1966, that a song hit the charts that the little boy played over and over again on a 45 single. I'm a Believer. That song, for 7 weeks, from late December 1966 into 1967, was the #1 hit on the chart, blaring across AM radio. That little boy in West Haven saved his 25-cent a week allowance to buy his first album, Meet the Monkees, for $1.75.
Oh my God.
As 1967 unfolded and the little boy was playing sports, he was mesmerized still by the Monkees. And it was in July of 1967 that another song hit the charts, Pleasant Valley Sunday, which resonated all across AM radio in the summer of 1967. As the little boy continued to follow the Monkees, it was in December of 1967 that another song rocketed up the charts that was the #1 hit into early 1968. And the little boy in West Haven played that song time and time again, Daydream Believer, as the little boy developed his own little crushes on some of the little girls in West Haven, Connecticut that he was going to school with, as Daydream Believer was resonating in that little boy's mind. Little did that little boy realize that 53 years later, he'd be standing here before you, offering a proclamation on behalf of Peter Tork Day and the Monkees Day, which we will proclaim here in North Haven shortly. And for those who were mesmerized by the Monkees, like I was as that little boy in West Haven, one of the things we can never forget about Peter Tork was during that era, he was one of the great pianists and bass guitarists during that era. And we can never forget his contributions to the Monkees, to the music industry, and what he did long after he was part of the Monkees. So I am honored to be here today with James here beside me, and I'd like to offer him this proclamation, and everyone here. James was friendly with Peter at 16 years of age, and I'm sure he'll comment on that. And he'll tell you his story about his relationship with Peter Tork. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, today, Peter Tork Day and Monkees Fans Day, February 8th, 2020. For so many, the music of the 1960s and the Monkees epitomized and illuminated the decade, and that music continues to live on in our collective memories and even today. The music and entertainment value of the Monkees continues to enrich and enhance our musical heritage and pop culture. Peter Tork of the Monkees resided in Connecticut most of his life and performed countless concerts in the state, and sadly passed away in February of 2019. Many of us who love Peter Tork and the Monkees will spend the day celebrating at Peter Tork Memorial Convention for Monkees fans here February 8th in North Haven, Connecticut. Charles Rosnay of Connecticut is presenting a very special event to celebrate the life, music, and memory of Peter Tork and his shared love of the Monkees. So today, it's a great honor and privilege. I, Michael J. Frieda, Chief Executive of the Town of North Haven, by virtue of the authority vested in me by our town charter, do hereby proclaim February 8th, 2020 as Peter Tork Day and Monkees Day in the town of North Haven, ladies and gentlemen. And James, I'd like to present to you this proclamation.
I accept it on behalf of Peter's entire family, and Mike, if I'd known you were going to wear a tie, I'd have worn a tie. Anyhow, thank you very much. I'll be talking about Peter later in my interview. I don't want to take any more time because my good buddy John is going to be playing music next, right? So here you go.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, nice round of applause for our first elected of North Haven, Michael Frieda. Great job. And before we bring on John Sheridan, we have a similar proclamation that, believe it or not, came from the governor. Similar verbiage. I want to thank Teresa Romeo for helping us in getting the governor to actually come through with an official statement. It says, State of Connecticut by His Excellency Ned Lamont, Governor, whereas music has the ability to define a decade and a generation connecting people, places, and cultures, and whereas for so many the music of the Monkees epitomized and illuminated the 60s and captured so much of what the young people of the time, whereas the music and industry entertainment value of the Monkees continues to enrich and enhance our musical heritage and pop culture today, whereas Peter Tork of the Monkees resided in Connecticut most of his life and performed countless concerts in the state, ultimately passing away February 2019. And whereas to commemorate Peter's life, the Peter Tork Memorial Convention is held on today, February 8th in North Haven, Connecticut, for fans of Peter and fans of the Monkees. Now, therefore, I, Ned Lamont, which is not me, Governor of the State of Connecticut, do hereby officially proclaim February 8th, 2020 as Peter Tork and the Monkees Day in the state of Connecticut. So we got one from North Haven, we got one from the state. I'm Charles Roseday, the producer of the show. Very proud of these accomplishments, and very proud to bring on our first entertainer of the day, who not only has been a friend of mine for many years and was my co-musician in a band called Monkey Mania, which was in 1982, where Peter Tork was the first time he ever was at a convention.
Crawling around among the drums, and we just had a good time playing music. He turned up at the studio for one recording session and played on one song, and that was it. It was a very brief musical encounter, but it turned out to be that was one of the tracks they chose. So that's how he turned out to be on my album. I've stayed friends with all the family. There were other kids born after that I didn't know as well, because there was a big gap between Nick and Chris, and Annie came later. But I'm still in touch with Nick. He lives in Massachusetts, and we keep in touch. So I was very shocked and saddened to hear a year ago that Peter was sick and was gone. But I'm so happy to see so many people who love the Monkees and who love Peter and shared his joy of music and entertainment.
Recording, but actually you went to Japan with him as well. Tell us about your history with Peter.
Well, I'll probably start how it started, where the bass player, Joe Reno, was rehearsing at my studio, Rock Bay Studio in Manhattan, and said, I'm playing with Peter Tork, and we're at a studio, and it's not very good. And I told this woman manager, her name was Carol Gora, about your place, and Carol said, well, Danny, give Peter 2 hours. I says, no, I'll give him 10 hours. No. I said, of course, yeah, free time. I said, I'd love to. So they came over, and they went into the room, and I'm in the reception area, and did what they did. They came out, and I got the thumbs up, and Carol said, let's make an arrangement, a regular schedule to rehearse. So that's how it started, rehearsing. Not recording yet. I can't remember which came first. Maybe we started recording demos on an 8-track, 4-stacks machine, I think it was, in another room. Vagabond John, all these other songs. Maybe Tonight was another one, which may have been written by the drummer, Derek Lord, at the time.
Well, Jerry Renino was the music director for the Monkees during that time period.
That's right.
We had a Beatles convention in Stamford, Connecticut in 1995. I don't know if any of you were there. Davy Jones was our special guest, and Jerry Renino orchestrated the whole thing.
Oh wow, he was great.
Great guy.
Great and everything. And I'm sorry to say, of course, rest in peace, Jerry. And I'm going to get choked up. He was the best man at my wedding,
Oh, wow.
In '87, and I still have dreams with Jerry, and he's busting my horns. We're at a rehearsal or something. He's going, you gotta get it right, or something. And that's my memory of
endless
Jerry.
videos and
Yeah.
photos with Jerry in it.
Yeah.
Great guy. So, ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions for our guests from the audience? Just raise your hand. If anyone has anything to ask, we'll field questions from you guys.
We were all very musical, and that continued into our grown-up lives. But there was one summer, probably about 1952, something like that, when my family traded homes with a poet who had a house on Fire Island, off Long Island. And we were coming from Minnesota. We didn't know anything about Fire Island. But we invited the Torkelsons to come down. I think they were living in Stores or maybe in Washington at that time. We all met together at this summer cottage in Cherry Grove. If anybody knows about Cherry Grove, it's kind of a hotbed of, I guess the current term would be LGBTQ, the rest of it. But it's all there. It's all out, all there and all out. I was 8 years old, 9 years old. We were all kids, and we turned up at this Fire Island resort, and my parents were in total shock. They had no idea what they were looking at. But we kids got together, and we would meet the ferry boat coming over from the mainland and do little skits. We entertained the crowd, and it was so much fun. We had memorized whole parts of Walt Kelly's Pogo, and we would just do the dialogue and act it up, and crowds would come over and they just loved it. And that was, probably one of the things that set me off as wanting to go on stage and be an entertainer myself. But Peter he was always so exuberant and full of joy and just such a thrill to be around. I loved him so much. He was the closest thing I had to a brother in my growing up years. So that's probably one of my better memories.
Thank you. Danny.
Well, I'm going to add to that what you're saying at the end that I don't think I ever saw Peter in a bad mood. Even when things weren't going right on a show or a gig.
I did.
When I got paid, we were supposed to get paid. Yeah. And he was always like, just, smile or whatever, and always a regular guy. And I think one of my nice memories, there's so many, was meeting his son and daughter was very exciting for me. He's a dad, and I wasn't a dad yet, not for many, many years later. And I don't remember, you remember the son and daughter, what the names are, Charles, by chance?
Hallie, Ivan, and Erica.
I met Hallie and Ivan, and Hallie might have been 12 or 13 at the time, I don't know, in 84 or whatever. And then, so that was a good moment, a good memory, and also I think we stayed over and slept over in his house that he grew up, because we were on the road between going somewhere, and met his sister. I don't remember meeting his parents, but we were very laid back, and that's some of my memory was, that's my memory. It's too many memories. I'm going through all my mind right now. I didn't expect that question, so.
We mentioned earlier that
So many greats
Absolutely.
had been there, and so that was the place. If you're going to do a record, to do it there.
It was near Manny's Car Wash in Sam Ash. I mean, not Manny's Car, but Manny's Music, I meant.
Yeah, I mean, every
in that area, right?
I can just think of Chocolate Khan. I'd go on and
Yeah.
on. Stevie Wonderwood, on and on. We'd be in the studio day after day. Different greats all the time. And Paul Hill, who was the bass player, worked
Yeah, Paul,
there.
I know the
he
name.
worked there as a tech.
Wow.
He was assistant. What do you call this guys? Nowadays it's all digital, but in those days you need people to cut tape and paste it back together. I was an assistant engineer.
Real to real world.
And that's kind of how the whole project came together, because of Bobby. And the weird thing is, years later, I worked with Bobby's cousin, and when I became a therapist, how weird is that? So, small world.
Is that for me? That's a message saying, "Thank God you're well."
Oh, right. From God. I didn't know God had a tweet account. I didn't know.
All right, so did you? Were you one of the people who auditioned to be a monkey?
I was not. I was in high school when I met Peter, and then I came from very humble beginnings, and the only way I could go to college was to have the GI. But in any event, I got that deal, and then people couldn't find my records unless they slept with me. It was just, the records weren't anywhere. I mean, I talk about selling 1,200 records, but I did them one at a time, you know what I mean? I was exhausted. And,
God bless you,
it's
James.
more TMI. So let's get back to this. I started my own label because someone said I was funny and that I should do a recording where I was none of my music but my monologues. And so I made a recording at Monkees again and tried to sell it to the labels, and nobody wanted it. They said, well, come on, are you a comedian or are you a singer? You know, you got to be one. And I said, but couldn't I be an entertainer? I think that kind of umbrella. And they said, no entertainers allowed. So I started my own label. And then I was talking to Peter, and I got distribution through Capitol, so I had real distribution for the recordings I made. And I began releasing my friends. You know, if I thought a buddy was good, I'd call him and say, hey, well, let's put out your record. And so I put out another 10 or 20 records on my friends. And then Peter came, when were the LA riots, 92? 93? Peter was living in Venice when the LA riots happened, and he became alarmed and came and stayed with us in Beachwood Canyon. And I said, how come you haven't made a record? Mickey's made a record, Davey's made a record, and Michael's. And he said, well, you know, actually nobody's actually asked me. And I said, what? That's ridiculous. I said, look, I have a studio, I have a label, let's make a record. And we'll sell it to one of the majors. And if we can't sell it to the majors for what we want, we'll put it out on my label, so we can't go wrong. And 3/4 of the way through making Stranger Things Have Happened, which was his first real official solo recording, he said to me, you know what, James, I don't want to shop it to a label. Let's just put it out on your label. So Peter signed to my label out of friendship.
And that wasn't the only album he did with you.
No. We did that album, and we got Cass Elliott's daughter Owen and John Phillips' daughter Mackenzie to come over, and we did Giant Step for the album. And Owen and Mackenzie and I did the background parts, and Peter sang lead, of course. But we sounded just like the Mamas and Papas. I was astounded at how that genetic vibe happened. So we made the record, and it did well for us. And then Peter wanted to go out on tour, but they were doing the Unplugged thing. Remember MTV or VH1 was doing Unplugged. Peter said, I'm not going to do an Unplugged thing. Why don't you come with me? And I said, okay. So I would do a set, and then Peter would do a set. And then he called me back up, and we started doing 1 or 2 songs together. And the longer the tour lasted, the more songs we worked up. And then people started saying, when can we get a record of the 2 of you? And we were like, what? You know, so we came back from the road, and we went right in the studio, sat down across from each other, and made this album called Two Man Band. I just love you folks. So we sat there and we just played and sang. Peter always referred to that record as warts and all, because we didn't do any overdubbing or fixing or any real. It was just like right off the road, fresh. This is what we do, and we did it. And we made it as something, you know, to have for people who came to see us play live. And then we made a second album a couple of years later called Once Again. And we did take some time with that. And I've got to say that of all the recordings we did together, that's my favorite one of ours. Peter wrote some fabulous songs for it, and he really shined, you know, on that record. I like it a lot, that CD. Once Again, it was called. And then we did a live album because people kept saying, we want a thing between you guys. So we did a live album called Live at the Coffee Gallery backstage or something like that. Anyhow, we made a record every couple of years, and we toured for about a decade. And it was just some of the most fun I ever had. I was looking at some photographs, and I realized that part of the reason you all enjoyed it so much was that there was so much love between us. There was such a nice connection. It was just really sweet and nurturing, and we had such a good time. And he was he was my best audience. Sometimes I would make a joke that would make him literally fall on the stage floor laughing, you know. Matter of fact, I'm going to play at 5 o'clock, so I'll do a couple of the bits. I know even one of my bits, he started doing in the Monkees show until I got him by the throat.
What bit was that?
I'll do it. I'll do it I'll do it in my show. You'll recognize it, I'm sure, because I couldn't believe it. Peter, you know, you're a funny guy. That happens to be mine.
You've been in touch the past few years?
Not the past year, no.
Talking about the past few years prior to the past.
Thank you. If we don't make light of this, I will start weeping. I know that I spoke to Peter and said, yeah, we were in contact a lot. We were best friends for 58 years. Yeah, I know that I was just talking to John Sheridan, who was on earlier, and he's loaning me his guitar to play tonight. And Peter actually found me my Gibson J50 in 1964, that summer that I met him. I had sold my guitar because I didn't have any money for rent or food, and so in a burst of 16 or 17-year-old wisdom, I thought, well, I'll sell the guitar that makes me money, and then I'll have money. Yeah, I'll let you think about it. So in any event, I had no guitar for about 2 weeks, and then Peter called and said, James, I just found this Gibson J50 here in a pawn shop. They want $50 for it. I think it's a good guitar. And I said, okay, buy it, I'll give you $50. And that's what I did. And today, whatever it is, 58 years later, I thought about that. I was relating that story, and I realized that Peter's the kind of guy that would have seen that guitar and thought that would be a good guitar for James, but I don't think he could afford to buy it. So I think he bought it, and then he told me that he bought it for $50.
He did that for Davey too.
Yeah, he's that kind of guy. He's just that kind of guy. He was great.
Now, I know a lot of people have visited you.
And he wanted to make a statement, and so he left the Monkees to go on his own as a musician to demonstrate, you know, what who he was and what he was. But leaving the Monkees, John Stewart said it well when he left the Case of Trio. Dave Guard left the Case of Trio, and John Stewart took his place. And Dave Guard said, never leave your power base. What Peter should have done, in my estimation, was stay with the Monkees and do solo projects. But he really wanted to make a statement because, you know, Peter, he was all about integrity, you know, and he demonstrated it. He always made choices in that regard instead of choices like just for what would benefit him monetarily the most. He's not like the appointed president. He's actually an honorable man.
Thank you. More questions, please. Yes.
Who's talking?
Second row. Second row.
Oh, sorry.
care. 'Cause once you put your cards down on the table, everybody knows there's no point trying to pick them up again. Soon as they big casino, the world has gotten round. Serious money. Selling copies of my music.
Can you tell me how you did it?
Can you please contact my record label, Beechwood Recordings in Los Angeles? If you start making a lot of money selling my music, please contact Beechwood Recordings. Tell them how you did it. Because they don't know. I got with that label, I feel like I'm part of the witness protection program. You know?
See?
Anyhow, here's a... Boy, no yesterdays can find us, and tomorrows don't exist. In our secret stolen season, in the space between what is and might have been. Ooh la la la, la 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 la. Ooh la la la, la 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 la. But all too soon it's easy rockin'. That's what will get us there, just easy rockin'. And it will take us where the waves are breaking upon an endless shore. It's over and over. There's always room for one more. Oh, so easy. Oh, yes, it's so easy. Oh, so easy. Oh, yes, it's so easy. Easy rockin'. Let's take it from the top, just easy rockin'. And we will never stop this slow commotion. Better choose. All my friends keep telling me better do what's good for you. Well, they don't know the demon that's inside of me. Without you, I lose my way. All I ever wanted you made. All I ever wanted you are. All I ever wanted without you will leave me with an empty heart. We can be. Is this the best we can be? Heading down a dark road, need a spark to light the way. No sense of direction. 6 o'clock whenever we reach. But it rains and I rise, wipe the sleep out of my eyes. Another what it will bring. Children, with me. Oh, what can it mean to us? Daydream believer and a homecoming dream. You once thought of me as a white cat on his steed. Now you know how close we all can be. And our good times started in with our loved ones. Tell me, how much do we really need? Cheer up, sleepy dream. Oh, what can it mean? A daydream believer and a homecoming dream. You all, by yourself. Daydream believer and a homecoming dream. Hey, cheer up, sleepy dream. Oh, what can it mean? A daydream believer and a homecoming
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. James Lee Stanley. Great authors with us today. One of them is Tony Ranzoni, who's written a book called Connecticut Rock and Roll. I don't know if you visit his table. The other one is long title, Looking for the Good Times, Examining the Monkees songs one by Michael Machine. We got two, he's gonna make sure he's got the money. We got 220 and we got 250. We got 250 in the back. I'm gonna say 300, you're gonna say what?
Checking 1, 2, 3.
You're gonna think about it. We got $300. Where are we at? 250?
Check 1, 2. Check.
We got 250 over there. We're looking for 270. To my family, but especially those two guys right there. You see, stand up for me. Stand up, please. This is Harry and Ian. Ian, raise your hand. He did most of the editing of the video. Harry did the intro of the video. Okay. It's not up on here. It's here, but it's not up on top. Once again, thanks to Harvest Audio. This was our doing, not theirs. No, the projector turns off.
There you go. Give it about 10 seconds.
10.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I could hide the way of a blue bird and she's 6 o'clock alarm would never ring, but it rained and I rise, wiped the sleep out of my eyes. The shaven razor's cold and it stings. was such a simple game a child could play. It was easy then to tell right from wrong, easy then to tell weak from strong. When a man should stand and fight, or just go along. But today there is no
Well, I thought love was more or less a given thing.
the answer seems so clear without or tasted fear.
It was easy then to tell truth from lies, selling out from compromise, who to love and who to hate, foolish from sunrise. But today there is no day or night, today there is no dark or light. It was easy then to know what was fair, when to keep and when to share, how much to protect your heart, and how much to care. But today there is no day or night, today there is no dark or light, today there is no black or white.
Only shade of gray. Only shades of gray.
Hi, thank you for coming to the Peter Tork Memorial Monkees Convention. I'm Charles Rosenay, the producer of the show. I'm a first-generation Monkees fan. I promoted, along with Maggie McManus, the first Monkees convention where a monkey actually appeared. It was 1982, and Peter Tork was our special guest. He played with our band Monkey Mania, he signed autographs, and he actually spoke on stage. I'll never forget how eloquently he talked about John Lennon's passing at that show. I was probably closer friends with Davey, and he was a guest at one of my Beatle conventions, actually. And I've probably interviewed and taken more pictures with Mickey than any of the other guys. And I actually got to meet and hug Nez a few years ago. But it's Peter who will always have a place in my heart. He was a special guest for us in '82. He was a guest along with Davey, Mickey, Boyce, and Hart at our 1987 National Monkees Convention. He guested again at the 2013 Davy Jones Memorial Monkees Convention. But he was also my guest at a Beatles Expo in 2009, where he appeared with me on TV stations to promote the show. That was really special. He was always there for me, and I wanted to pay tribute for him as we did to Davey in 2013. But this show had to be in Connecticut, where Peter and his family lived, and he loved Connecticut. And in February, not only because it's the one-year anniversary of his passing, but also it's his birthday month. Well, we put together this very special video tribute I hope you'll enjoy, edited by my son Ian. Thanks to everyone who contributed to this video. Let's love one another, and let's make the world shine.
Hello everybody, this is Fred Velez, author of the book A Little Bit Me, A Little Bit You, from the Monkees from a fan's perspective. I wish I could be there, I really wanted to be there, but I hope everyone is having a good time and remembering our dear Peter Tork. Peter was the very first member of the Monkees that I got to know on a personal basis. He was always very kind, very sweet to the fans, as many of you know that. I saw Peter's last concert in 2017 at Westbury. My heart is with you, and please remember Peter. Please be good to one another. Please love one another. As Peter sang in his song, For Pete's Sake, we were made to love one another, and love is understanding. God bless you all, and blessings. Peace.
Today we're celebrating Peter Tork, and we're in the hills above Hollywood with Valerie, who was in several dozen episodes of the Monkees, starting with the pilot, and that is where you first met Peter Tork.
Yes, it is. I met Peter Tork on the pilot, and I met all of the boys on the pilot, and it was a kind of a different show in that day and age. I think it paved the road for television, and we all became very, very good friends. And Peter especially was very close to me, and after the pilot, he didn't really have a place to stay. So I called my roommate and I said, would you mind if I bring this actor home and he can stay with us a while? And she said, sure. And so I brought Peter home, and I noticed that he didn't have his banjo. And I said, Peter, where's your banjo? And he said, oh, it was hard times and he had to hawk it. He had to pawn it. And so I said, well, we can't have that. So I took him to the pawn shop. We got the banjo out, and he sang and he played for us, and we laughed together, we ate together, we really had a lot of fun. And my heart aches and the loss. So, God bless you, Peter. God bless you.
Hello there, Monkey fans. I'm Liberty DeVito, and I hope you're having a great time with the Peter Tork tribute. I've always been a fan of the Monkees, as you can see by the albums that I have behind me. These are the original vinyls that I bought when the Monkees were popular. I was a kid. Yes, but I do have a favorite monkey picture, and this is it right here. See that picture down there? The lady in that picture is my wife, Anna. Anna used to work for the Monkees. She said they were great guys, and they were a lot of fun. I'm a little jealous of Peter in this picture, but hey, I've learned to get over it. Anyway, you guys have a good time, and I hope to see you soon. Here's to Peter Tork and the Monkees. Ciao.
Since this one hit a little harder than I thought it would when he passed last year, I am very grateful of having known him for many years, for knowing how much he loved his work, his passions, his fans, and how someone who was able to pick himself up when he was down after leaving the Monkees in 1968 and lived his life the way he wanted. My fondest memory of Peter was while interviewing him for my book, A Manufactured Image. We chatted about his many songs he had recorded while in the group. A lot was unreleased at the time. His reaction when I presented him with a tape of his unreleased material from the acetates that I had obtained at the time was priceless. It was the look of a child getting a special gift for Christmas that they thought they never would. I was quite pleased how things did turn out for him during the 80s reunion, and he was able to get a second chance of enjoying his music again. So I say, Peter, it was an honor to know you, and we as fans, and we'll always have you in our heart. You meant a lot to us, and will continue to do so thanks to your music, the shows, the concerts, and of course the fans. Thank you.
Hi, all you Monkey friends. How are you? Sure. We both have something in common. We both love Carole King, and she wrote some fabulous music for us. Love ya.
Hello, Fred Schneider from the B-52s.
Hey, it's Fred from B-52s. How is everybody doing? I just want to tell you that the Monkees were always one of my favorite bands. I especially liked the CD and album Head and the movie. And they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but then everyone should. But Peter Tork was a great guy. We did shows with the Monkees years ago, and he was great. They were all great. It was really exciting for us, and it's a great loss not to have him with us anymore.
Peter Patterson had a pig named Porky. This pig named Porky loved pie. He loved pizza pie, pumpkin pie, pineapple pie, pizza pie, minced tarts, And Peter Percival Patterson's Porky loved pie for breakfast, pie for lunch, pie in the afternoon, and pie before he went to bed. Peter Percival Patterson's Porky ate so much pie that do you know what he did? He popped.
Hi everyone. It's an honor for me to be here tonight as we remember my good friend Peter Tork and celebrate his life, his music, and my dear friend. I will always remember Peter for his music, for the fun he gave all of us. And also tonight we will be remembering my dear friend Davy Jones. And it's a very special year since it is leap year, and it's the year that Davy was kissed by an angel and left this planet on my birthday, which is leap year. I'm a leap year baby. So I remember both of them today with much love, and it's a great loss for all of us. And I remember all of the Monkees really, and I'm so grateful for theirs having sung the song that my husband wrote, Daydream Believer, and making it one of the most popular songs in the world today even. And I send all my love to the family, to the friends, and to all the fans as we all remain Daydream Believers and live in love and remember Peter today and Davy and all of the Monkees. I send all my love. Thank you.
I want to say hello to all the Monkees and their fans. I love you.
Hey everybody, all you Monkey fans out there. This is Jay Siegel, the Laugh, and it was on the second album, More than the Monkees, and I think it sold about, I don't know, at least 4 million albums when it first came out. And it was really great working with those guys, and I hope you all have a great time.
Hello, I'm Billy Hinchy of Dino, Desi, and Billy, and the Beach Boys. As some of you may know, Carl Wilson was my brother-in-law, and we lost Carl to cancer in 1998. And we started the Carl Wilson Foundation, or CWF. Well, in 2002, we did an event on the beach in Santa Monica, and what do you know, Peter showed up, and someone handed him an electric guitar, and he sang and played along with us on a lot of great songs, and we just had a blast, and we were so thankful that he was there that day, and we miss him, and we sure want to salute him today and every day. God bless you, Peter.
Hi, fans and friends of Peter Tork. I'm another friend of Peter Tork's. I was his personal assistant for a time, but more than that, we were friends. He was like a brother to me. I could share so many stories with you, but I think I'll just share my beginning and my ending. So it was around 2004, and I'm sitting at a table across from Peter at Starbucks, talking about how he would speak at E.O. Smith's graduation, because he was part of the first graduating class at that high school. Funny story there in that he wanted an hour, he wanted Shoesley Blues to come and play at graduation, and I had to remind him that this was a graduation and it was about the kids. I didn't know then that he would be calling me a period of time later to ask me to be his assistant, and I didn't.